In today's video, I want to share with you my tips and tricks on lighting to improve your YouTube videos from this to this. If you would like to recreate my whole lighting setup, there's links below in the description for all my equipment that I've used today. It's not a cheap setup, it's around £600, but totally worth it if you have the money to spare. I've also put together a second, more affordable list for those of you on a budget. That's all in the description below. Like my guitar collection, I didn't purchase all this lighting gear in one go. It was gathered over my 10 years of being on YouTube. Now, before I dig into my tips and tricks of lighting, let's talk about cameras. So today I am using my Panasonic Lumix DSLR camera. This is priced around £400 to £500. It's 4K ready. I'm only using HD today because I'm filming with my Blackmagic A10 Mini, which only records in 1080p, but it's good enough for what I'm showing you today. Anyway, back to the cameras. So you do not need to have a ridiculously good camera to get good quality footage for YouTube. The whole point of today's video is that good lighting is key. Now, let me prove this. So I've got an old iPhone that I'm going to swap out in a second, and this is probably an iPhone 5. Now, using this same lighting setup, I'm going to show you how good your footage would still look. Like this. Okay, so I'm now shooting on my iPhone. So as you can see, it still looks great, and that's all to do with the lighting. Let me show you the iPhone. There's the iPhone. So that's an iPhone 5, I think. Let me turn off the lighting once again. And as you can see, we're back to being terrible. With the lighting back on, we're back to being beautiful. And that's my point anyway. Let's get back to my Lumix camera. Now, don't get me wrong, having a very good camera can completely transform your YouTube videos and up your game. Okay, so let's now look at lighting. Let's start from scratch. So I'm going to get rid of all my different lights and bring them all in gradually. So let's start from nothing, like this. Okay, so as you can see, this looks pretty terrible. So what we're going to look at first is our key light, and it will look like this. That's better, you guys can now see me. So most YouTubers will have a ring light around their camera, so they've got a light facing directly in front of them, and I've decided not to do that. So my light is actually at a 45-degree angle over here, and this creates loads of cool shadows on my face. I think it makes the shot very interesting. It's completely up to you. You can have a mess around with different things. But for me, a key light should be off to the side slightly. You can try different angles. I've got it off to my right, you can put it off to your left and see what works for you. I'm using a Fovatech LED panel. These are relatively expensive, but well worth the investment. I've also got a softbox on front of it, which makes all of my shadows on my face less harsh. You don't need to have the softbox, that's entirely up to you. I can also dim the light with my panel, which is a great option. I can't change the temperature, which would be very handy. So you see that I'm very white at the moment. I could actually change it so I'm a lot brighter. I look more human. I don't look like a vampire. If you had that option, that's probably a bit more expensive. My LED panel is quite old. Now, this is where we want to talk about your DSLR cameras, and if you have them, you want to look at your ISO. So by changing this, the higher you put the setting to this, the more grainy your footage is. So for instance, it's usually from 200 to 2400. I have mine set at a really low setting of 200. So it looks like this. If I go up, let's move it up actually. So this is 200, 400, 800, 1600, 13,200, 6400. So you can see a massive difference here. You want to try and keep your ISO as low as possible. So I'm going to go all the way down to 200. Sometimes being this low can mean your footage is too dark. I really like the way it looks the darker it is, but it's entirely up to you. But I'll try and keep your ISO to around 200 to 800. Another important thing to note with your DSLR cameras is the white balance. So what the white balance does is make sure the colors are correct that you're filming in. You've probably recorded or filmed something in the past where your face has looked too orange or the colors don't seem right in a set. That's because you've not set the correct white balance on your camera. Now you can do this, like I said earlier, with your lighting and change the color temperature, but I don't have that option, which is why I look very pale. So what I need to do is set the white balance, and all you do is go to your settings on your camera, get a white piece of paper, and you'll basically want to save a setting on there, is what I do anyway. And you'll have a little square box that will come up on the screen. You'll put that in the box and you'll say capture, and it will then set your white balance. I've already done it for mine, so I'm not going to change it, but that is how easy it is to do. Have a look for instructions on your particular camera of how to set the white balance. You can do auto white balance, but I found that not to be exact, so it's worth doing it manually. Okay, so that's our key light. Let's move on to our rim light or backlight, and it looks like this. So the rim light or backlight is going to be placed up high behind you. I have mine up here. You can't see it in shot. Let me change camera angles. It's there we go. You can see up there. So the idea of the rim light is to make you pop out from the background. It illuminates your shoulders and head, so you can see a bit of difference between the background and your body. It really helps me a lot because I wear dark clothing and my background is dark. So that is what a rim light, I want to say a rim job, but I shouldn't say that. That's not what this is. Oh no. Do you get demonetized for saying rim job? I'm using a Cameo Q Spot 40. I can use a remote to turn it on and off, which is pretty cool. So there we go, on and off. Let me show you a different angle so you can see. That's really cool. And I'm using this really sturdy gravity stand to hold up the lights. Something overlooked by a lot of YouTubers is backlighting. It can really make a big difference. Let me show you on another shot. So let me go to this shot. If I turn it off, what a difference. If we go to another angle, the difference it makes is insane. Very subtle, but makes a very big difference. And finally, we have the lighting on the set itself, like this. And as you can see, it makes a massive difference having some interesting lights in the background. I've got my live on air neon sign and my lightning bolt in the background here. They're both very cheap and affordable. Links will be in the description below. It also helps if you are filming further away from your background set. Unfortunately, I'm quite close because this room's quite small. But if I was a bit further away from it, it will be a bit more blurred out in the background and give a more ambient effect. And another thing I forgot to turn on. So this is the Falcon Eye LED pocket light. It's absolutely insane. You can change all the colors. Let me mess about with this so I can change a setting on here. So there we go. I've got some purple going on behind me. I think that's going to change colors automatically. No, that's going to stay purple. So you can get it to change colors like this. So it's gone green, or we got blue, or you can get it to stay on one particular color. It's a ridiculous lighting tool. It's tiny, it's absolutely tiny. Check this out. Let me pick this up. So this is what it looks like. It's a tiny, tiny little device. It's quite pricey. This thing's around £100, but it is absolutely ridiculous. You could even use this as a key light if you really wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it because it's quite small, as you can see there, but you can change the settings on the back. You've got loads of presets there, but that adds lots of ambience to my set. Let's put that back behind me. Okay, so there's one more extra light that I use sometimes, and it's called a fill light, and it looks like this. For me, this brings everything together. I've got a bit more light on this side. So I've got another Vovatech LED panel over here to my left. That's at a 45-degree angle away from the camera as well. And that just adds a bit more lighting this side and kind of counteracts the shadows placed over here. Some people might like the harsh shadows. Sometimes in my videos I like to keep that, but this kind of brings everything together for me. Oh, actually there is one more light on my set I forgot to turn on. So I've got a little cheap LED light down here. So that lights up my books that I promote. Well, this is a good opportunity if you want to purchase any of my guitar books. They're out now, the Ultimate Guitar books. Check them out on Amazon. That wasn't planned, but anyway, yeah. So I have a little cheap LED light. I think I spent £6 on it from Amazon. Let me show you it. So here we go. This is all I've got, and it's connected to the floor down there, and I can just face it up to my books. So that's just powered by USB. I can leave that on all the time. Doesn't use much power, and it's very useful. That's basically my whole lighting setup. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment telling me if you've tried any of these lighting methods or bought any of the lights. I'd like to hear your stories. Maybe you've got some videos to show me with your lighting. I'd love to see all of your videos. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you for another one very soon. Take care.